Galactic Archive Station 9, Deep Space, year 2089. A silent hall filled with floating data screens. Thousands of alien historians gathered. They were studying one strange species, humans. Not their weapons, not their ships, not their wars, but something far more confusing. Mercy. Professor Kaler opened the archive. A projection of Earth appeared in the center of the chamber. Blue oceans, green continents, a fragile world. Kaler spoke slowly. Human history contains millions of wars, yet something strange happens after they win. They forgive. A murmur moved across the chamber. Several historians activated their analyzers. One screen showed the Centauri collapse of 2024, the most confusing event in galactic history. The war lasted 9 months. The Centauri Empire believed Earth was weak. They attacked without warning. Cities burned, satellites shattered, human fleets were pushed back. For the first time, Earth looked close to defeat. But humans adapted. They always do. Within weeks, their factories changed. Civilian industries became war production. Cargo ships became carriers. Mining drones became defense swarms. Humans call this total mobilization. By month 6, Centauri fleets were losing. By month 8, Centauri supply lines were gone. By month 9, the Centauri capital city fell. Every alien historian in the room understood what should have happened next. Standard galactic doctrine. Total annihilation. Destroy the enemy world. Erase the species. Prevent future revenge. That was the law of survival in every quadrant. But humans did something impossible. They stopped the war. Not because they were weak, not because they were tired, because they chose to stop. The archive displayed the next historical record. Human cargo ships landing on Centauri. Not soldiers, engineers, doctors, food shipments, construction drones. Entire cities that humans had destroyed during the war were rebuilt by the same species that destroyed them. Professor Kaler paused the projection. The room became silent. One young historian raised a limb. This makes no logical sense. Why rebuild the enemy? Why waste resources? Another historian responded. Perhaps humans feared retaliation? Kaler shook his head. Centauri fleets were already destroyed. Earth had complete dominance. There was no threat. Yet humans rebuilt the planet. Hospitals, power grids, water systems, homes, factories, everything. A new screen appeared. Human documents, old Earth history. A term appeared repeatedly. Marshall Plan. Historians analyzed the concept. After one ancient war on Earth, humans rebuilt the nations that attacked them. They fed them, funded them, helped them recover. The logic was strange, almost irrational, but the long-term results shocked the galaxy. Former enemies became allies, former rivals became partners, and war never returned to that region again. Professor Kaler turned to the chamber. For thousands of cycles, galactic civilizations followed the same rule: destroy your enemy. Humans invented a different rule: rebuild your enemy. The chamber became restless. Statistical models appeared in the air. Simulations ran thousands of outcomes. In most civilizations, victory leads to revenge. Revenge leads to retaliation. Retaliation leads to endless war. This cycle destroyed entire star systems. But human strategy interrupted the cycle. Mercy broke the chain. One historian spoke, "But mercy is dangerous. It allows enemies to recover." Kaler displayed a new data model: Centauri population after reconstruction, economic growth, trade networks, military alliances. Then the final result appeared. Centauri became one of Earth's strongest allies. Former enemies now defending Earth's borders. The chamber went silent again. One alien slowly said, "They turned a threat into a shield." Kaler nodded. "Exactly. Humans do not always win wars with weapons. Sometimes they win with forgiveness." Another historian asked, "But why? What advantage does forgiveness give them?" Kaler opened another archive: human psychology, human culture, human history, and one strange repeating idea appeared across centuries: breaking the cycle. Humans believed something most civilizations rejected. Revenge feels powerful, but peace lasts longer. And humans think long-term, a very long term. The room filled with quiet calculations. Centuries, generations, civilizations. Humans did not measure victory in years, they measured it in generations. Professor Kaler closed the first archive, but something still remained unexplained. Humans did not simply forgive, they helped, they invested, they cared, even for enemies. Why? Why would a species risk compassion for those who attacked them? That question had puzzled historians for decades, and the answer was even stranger. Because the human brain contains something other species never evolved: empathy. But before we reveal that, let me ask you something. If an enemy destroyed your cities, harmed your people, and nearly erased your world, would you forgive them, or would you destroy them forever? Tell me honestly. Write your answer in the comments: forgive or revenge. Because what humans did next changed the entire galaxy forever. And the alien historians were about to discover the most dangerous weapon humanity ever created was not their fleets, not their weapons, not their technology. It was mercy.
Galactic Archive Station 9. The historians remained silent. The previous data still floated above them. Images of Centauri cities, rebuilt by the same humans who destroyed them during the war. Professor Kaler activated the next archive. A new hologram appeared. This time it showed a human brain, layers of neural networks glowing with energy, signals moving rapidly between different regions. Kaler spoke slowly. Human forgiveness is not only cultural, it is biological. Several historians leaned closer. Biology was easier to understand than philosophy. Evolution normally rewards aggression. Every predator species across the galaxy follows the same rule: eliminate threats, punish enemies, collect blood debt. But humans developed something unusual: a strange neural response. When humans see another being suffer, their brain reacts as if they are the ones in pain. Pain signals mirror inside their mind. The historians studied the data. The brain region responsible was highlighted: the human prefrontal cortex. Another signal appeared: oxytocin, a chemical released during bonding and trust. Professor Kaler continued, "This chemical does something extraordinary. It suppresses revenge impulses and strengthens cooperative behavior." One historian interrupted, "That is a defect, a weakness in survival instincts." Kaler paused the simulation.
Many civilizations believed the same thing. For centuries, the galaxy assumed empathy was a flaw, a biological glitch, something evolution should remove. But humans kept it. And something unexpected happened. The archive opened a timeline. Hundreds of human wars across thousands of years. But every major war ended the same way. Eventually, humans tried reconciliation. Even after terrible destruction, even after unbearable loss, they still attempted peace. The historians watched a sequence of ancient Earth conflicts. Cities destroyed, millions displaced, entire regions devastated. Yet after each war, humans rebuilt. They traded. They created alliances. Former enemies became partners. The pattern repeated again and again. Kaylor expanded the data. Now the projection showed another region of the galaxy, the Orion Syndicate, a powerful criminal empire. For decades they raided human colonies, mining stations attacked, cargo convoys stolen, settlements burned. Eventually Earth responded. A massive fleet arrived. Human warships surrounded Orion territory. The war lasted only 6 weeks. Orion defenses collapsed. Their stations were destroyed. Their leaders captured. Every historian in the chamber knew what usually followed: extermination. That was the logical step. But humans did something else. They sent food ships, medical teams, reconstruction units. The archive played a recording from that time. A starving Orion child sitting beside a human medic, receiving food. The historians watched silently. Another recording followed. Former Orion raiders now working with human engineers, repairing the very colonies they once attacked. Within 10 years, the Orion region transformed completely. Crime networks vanished. Trade stations replaced pirate bases. Former raiders became merchants, security officers, even diplomats. The chamber lights dimmed as simulations filled the room. Professor Kaylor displayed a comparison. Civilizations that follow revenge versus civilizations that practice forgiveness. In revenge civilizations, every war creates the next war. Hatred multiplies. Generations inherit anger. Conflict never truly ends. In human systems, empathy interrupts the cycle. Enemies become partners. Threats become allies. War gradually fades. One historian studied the numbers: casualty rates, economic recovery, population stability. The results were undeniable. Empathy increased long-term survival. What looked like weakness was actually a powerful evolutionary strategy. Another historian spoke softly. So the human brain glitch is not a bug, it is an advantage. Kaylor nodded. Exactly. Human empathy forces them to imagine the suffering of others, even enemies. This does not erase their ability to fight. Humans can still wage devastating wars, but after victory, their biology pushes them toward reconciliation. The archive opened another report. Centauri Reconstruction, year 2035. Centauri citizens volunteering to defend Earth trade routes. Former enemy pilots now flying escort missions for human cargo ships. A statement from a Centauri commander appeared on the screen. We once believed humans were weak. Now we understand they are strong enough to forgive. The historians absorbed the message. Strength measured not only in power, but restraint. Professor Kaylor dimmed the hologram of the human brain. For most species, emotion interferes with logic, but humans evolved a balance.
Their empathy shapes their strategy, and this strange biological feature prevents something that destroyed countless civilizations: endless war. Another simulation appeared, the endless war model. Two rival civilizations fighting for centuries, revenge cycles repeating endlessly, population decline, economic collapse, eventual extinction. Now the simulation changed. The same war, but one side adopted human empathy. The result transformed everything. Peace treaties stabilized the region. Trade replaced conflict. Technological progress accelerated. The war ended permanently. The historians exchanged quiet signals. Across the galaxy, billions of lives had been lost simply because no civilization evolved empathy strong enough to break the cycle, except humans. Kaylor closed the biological report, but the story was not finished, because humans did not only forgive, they used forgiveness in a far more sophisticated way, a method that confused alien strategists for decades. A simple human gesture, two hands meeting, a handshake. For humans, it symbolized peace, but alien historians eventually realized something deeper. The handshake was not just peace, it was transformation. Because once an enemy accepted that gesture, something powerful began to spread. Human ideas, human values, human cooperation. And within one generation, former enemies often became the strongest defenders of human civilization. What began as mercy slowly reshaped entire cultures. The galaxy would later give this phenomenon a new name, the forgiveness effect. And many historians would come to a chilling conclusion. Humans did not conquer the galaxy with weapons. They conquered it with empathy.
Galactic Archive Station 9. The historians remained gathered around the projection hall. Data from the previous archive still glowed faintly in the air. Human empathy, human mercy, human forgiveness. At first, these traits looked like emotional weakness, but the deeper the historians studied, the more dangerous they appeared. Professor Kaylor activated the next record. A symbol appeared in the center of the chamber. Two human hands meeting. A handshake. Many civilizations across the galaxy used similar gestures, but for humans, the meaning was deeper. Kaylor spoke. To most species, a handshake means temporary peace. For humans, it is the beginning of transformation. A new timeline appeared in the air. The Centauri Alliance, the Orion Reconstruction, the Helios Trade Union, all former enemies, all now loyal partners of Earth. The historians analyzed the pattern. Every time humans defeated an enemy, the same strange sequence followed: war, victory, reconstruction, cultural exchange, alliance. Within one generation, former enemies defended humanity. One historian displayed a strategic model. If a species destroys an enemy, the threat disappears for a time, but hatred survives in memory. Another enemy eventually rises. But if a species converts an enemy, the threat becomes protection. Defense grows stronger. The historians began calling this strategy conversion warfare. Professor Kaylor expanded the archive. Another example appeared: the Helios conflict. Helios was a powerful military federation. Their fleets dominated several star sectors. They believed humans were soft, too emotional, too forgiving. Helios commanders planned a rapid invasion. They expected easy victory. The war lasted 3 months. Human fleets fought differently. They targeted logistics, navigation networks, fuel depots, communication relays. Helios ships slowly lost coordination. Entire fleets drifted in space, cut off from command. Human ships surrounded them, but something unexpected happened. They did not destroy the trapped fleets. They transmitted a message: surrender, no punishment, no execution. Helios admirals were confused. This had never happened before. Across the galaxy, surrender usually meant death. Yet the humans repeated the offer: surrender, return home, help rebuild what the war damaged. Many Helios commanders accepted. The war ended in weeks. Helios territory remained intact. Human engineers arrived. Trade agreements followed. Scientific exchanges began. Helios citizens slowly encountered human culture, human music, human literature, human education, human political ideas. Within 20 years, Helios society transformed. Their military doctrine changed. Their government became cooperative. Their fleets now patrolled trade routes alongside human ships. The historians studied the numbers. The Helios Federation, once a threat to Earth, now protected Earth borders. Kaler highlighted a key report. Human diplomats rarely demanded obedience. Instead, they offered opportunity, shared technology, shared prosperity, shared security. The effect was subtle but powerful. Cultures exposed to human cooperation often adopted it, slowly, generation by generation. One alien historian raised a concern: is this manipulation? Kaler answered carefully: not in the traditional sense. Humans rarely force cultural change. They simply demonstrate a different system, and many civilizations choose it voluntarily. Another historian analyzed long-term projections: human influence expanding across the galaxy, not through conquest, through partnership. Former enemies becoming defenders, neutral worlds becoming allies, trade networks growing stronger. Every decade, Earth influence increased without firing a single weapon. One historian whispered, "This is not diplomacy. This is infection." Kaler allowed a small pause. Many scholars reached the same conclusion. Human cooperation behaves like a virus. It spreads through contact. Once societies experience its benefits, they rarely abandon it. Another screen displayed a famous human phrase: winning hearts and minds. The historians studied its meaning. Military victory alone does not secure peace, but when people trust their former enemy, conflict disappears. The chamber light dimmed slightly. A new projection appeared. Interviews with former enemy generals. The first recording began. A Centauri admiral spoke. "We fought humans with everything we had, but after the war, they rebuilt our cities. They fed our people. They treated our wounded. How can you continue hating someone who saves your children?" Another recording followed, a Helios commander. "Humans defeated us completely, yet they gave us respect. They gave us opportunity. Now we defend them because they believed we could be better than our past." The historians exchanged silent signals. Across the galaxy, thousands of civilizations relied on fear. Fear controlled populations. Fear maintained order. But humans built alliances with trust, and trust created stronger loyalty. Professor Kaler expanded the strategic map. Earth influence now reached dozens of star systems. Each alliance reinforced the next. Trade, security, technology, cultural exchange, all linked together. No empire had grown this quickly without conquest. Another historian calculated the long-term outcome. If this pattern continued, human philosophy could reshape the entire galaxy. War would decline, Economic integration would rise. Civilizations would cooperate instead of compete. For many species, this idea felt impossible. Conflict had always defined galactic history, but humans had discovered another path, and it worked. Kaler closed the strategic simulation. For centuries, the galaxy believed mercy was weakness, but the evidence now showed something different. Mercy was strategy, forgiveness was influence, and the handshake, that simple human gesture, was one of the most powerful tools of expansion ever created. The historians slowly reached a disturbing conclusion. A civilization that conquers through fear must constantly defend its power, but a civilization that converts enemies into allies builds strength with every conflict. Humanity had turned war itself into a method of growth, and the galaxy was only beginning to understand how unstoppable that strategy could become. Because in the next decades, human mercy would do something even more shocking. It would break the will of the most ruthless empire in the Orion Arm, not with fleets, not with weapons, but with something far heavier, the burden of moral endurance.
Galactic Archive Station 9. The historians continued their study. Thousands of records floated across the chamber. Wars, alliances, transformations. Every example pointed to the same disturbing pattern. Human mercy did not weaken them, it strengthened them. Professor Kaler opened the next archive. A phrase appeared in human language, the high ground. Many alien historians had studied this concept, but most still struggled to understand it. Kaler explained. Humans believe that moral behavior creates strategic advantage, not only in battle, but in memory. When humans choose restraint, they force their enemy to face their own actions. Silence filled the chamber. The projection shifted. A new case study appeared, the Orion Syndicate War. Before the conflict, the Orion Syndicate ruled a vast network of illegal trade, piracy, smuggling, slave markets. Entire colonies lived in fear of them. For decades, human settlements suffered repeated attacks. Cargo convoys vanished, mining colonies burned. Thousands of civilians disappeared into Orion labor camps. Eventually, Earth responded. A human fleet entered Orion territory. The Syndicate expected a normal war, violence, destruction, retaliation. But the human strategy was different. Instead of massive bombardment, humans targeted infrastructure, hidden shipyards, supply routes, smuggling corridors, communication relays. Within weeks, the Syndicate began to collapse. Their fleets lost coordination. Their commanders could no longer control distant systems. Many pirate captains fled. Others surrendered. After 6 weeks, the Syndicate was finished. Their leadership scattered, their territory broken. But something strange happened after victory. Human fleets did not celebrate. They did not claim territory. Instead, they began sending aid ships. Food shipments arrived. Medical teams landed on devastated colonies. Reconstruction drones repaired power grids. The same people who once lived under Orion rule now received help from the species that defeated them. The historians watched the footage. Former Orion worlds now rebuilding under human assistance. One alien researcher spoke quietly. Why help them? These worlds supported the Syndicate. Kaler answered. Humans believe the population was not the enemy. The system was. Remove the system, help the people, and the threat disappears. Another projection appeared. Interviews with former Orion survivors. One recording showed an old merchant,
his voice weak but clear. He spoke of the war. When the fighting ended, our stations had no food, no power. Our children were starving. We expected the humans to abandon us. Instead, they fed us. Another survivor appeared, a former pirate mechanic. Humans gave us work repairing trade ships. They treated us like citizens, not criminals. The historians analyze the psychological impact. Hatred normally survives war, but gratitude changes memory. When an enemy saves your life, your anger weakens. When they protect your family, your loyalty begins to change. This was the burden of moral endurance. Humans carried the weight of mercy, even when revenge would be easier, even when hatred would feel justified. One historian displayed a strategic model. When one civilization acts with cruelty and the other responds with compassion, the moral pressure becomes unbearable. Eventually, the cruel side loses public support. Their own people question them. Their own soldiers lose motivation. Kaylor activated another historical moment, the final broadcast of an Orion Syndicate commander. He looked exhausted, his fleet already defeated. He spoke slowly to his followers. "We tried to fight them with fear, but they respond with kindness. Our people see the difference, and they choose the humans." The chamber became silent. Moral endurance had broken the syndicate, not only their fleets, but their belief system. The historians continued reviewing records. After the war, many former Orion worlds requested partnership with Earth. Trade routes reopened, security forces reorganized. Former pirates now worked as patrol officers, protecting shipping lanes they once attacked. One of the most surprising reports appeared next. Human aid missions feeding Orion children, children whose parents once fought against Earth. The images disturbed many alien observers because they understood the psychological impact. When children grow up remembering kindness, they rarely choose hatred later. Within one generation, entire Orion regions transformed. The syndicate vanished from history, not erased by destruction, but replaced by cooperation. Professor Kaylor turned to the chamber. For most civilizations, power comes from fear. Fear forces obedience. Fear enforces order. But fear also creates resentment. Resentment grows until rebellion begins. Humans discovered another form of power: respect. Respect creates loyalty, and loyalty lasts longer than fear. Another historian studied long-term projections. Civilizations ruled by fear eventually collapse. Civilizations built on trust remain stable for centuries. Human mercy required patience. It required emotional discipline. It required resisting revenge. But the long-term results were undeniable. Enemies slowly disappeared because enemies became partners. The historians reviewed one final interview. A former Orion Syndicate survivor, now an elderly citizen living on a rebuilt colony. He spoke quietly. "When humans defeated us, I hated them. I lost everything in that war. But then they fed my children. They rebuilt our homes. They gave us a future. How do you stay angry at a species like that?" The projection faded. Silence returned to the archive hall. For the first time, many historians began questioning their own civilizations. How many wars across the galaxy continued simply because no one was willing to forgive? Humans had shown a different path, a harder path, but a stronger one. And now, that philosophy was spreading across star systems, across cultures, across civilizations, because the galaxy had begun to notice something extraordinary. Wherever human influence reached, war slowly disappeared, trade increased,
Alliances multiplied, and the idea of mercy, once considered weakness, was becoming the most powerful strategy in existence. The next archive would reveal the final consequence, a transformation that would change the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Because by the year 2026, the Interstellar Accord would adopt a new doctrine, a doctrine inspired by one strange species, humans, and their impossible weapon, grace.
The final archive opened slowly. Every historian in the chamber focused on the projection. For decades they had studied human wars, human mercy, human empathy, human strategy. Now they were about to see the result, the long-term outcome of a civilization that chose forgiveness instead of revenge. Professor Kaylor activated the timeline. The year appeared in the center of the chamber. 2026, a moment that changed galactic history. The Interstellar Accord. Before this moment, the galaxy followed one rule: power through domination. Empires rose through conquest. Victory meant destruction of enemies. Peace meant temporary survival. But that system had a flaw. Every empire eventually collapsed. Hatred always returned. Wars always restarted. Entire civilizations disappeared because revenge never ended. Then humans arrived. At first, the galaxy ignored them. Their ships were smaller. Their population was limited. Their technology was young compared to ancient empires. But humans possessed something different, a philosophy no other species had fully developed: grace. The projection expanded. Human alliances across dozens of star systems, Centauri, Helios, Orion colonies, independent trade worlds, former enemies, all connected through cooperation, not domination. Historians studied the numbers carefully. Human territory did not expand through conquest. Instead, other civilizations requested partnership, trade agreements, defense pacts, scientific exchange. The network grew larger every decade. One alien historian displayed the economic data: trade volume within human alliances, 300% growth in 20 years, infrastructure development across allied systems, faster than any empire in galactic history. Conflict rates inside human partnerships, almost zero. Another historian showed military data. Human fleet size increased steadily, but something unusual appeared in the report. Many ships defending Earth territory did not belong to humans. They belonged to former enemies: Centauri patrol cruisers, Helios defense fleets, Orion security squadrons, all protecting the same trade routes, all defending the same alliances. Professor Kaylor spoke slowly. Humans created something new, a cooperative superpower. Not one species dominating others, but many species choosing the same system. The historians reviewed diplomatic archives, recordings from the first Interstellar Accord summit. Leaders from dozens of civilizations gathered. Many arrived as rivals. Some arrived with suspicion. A few arrived as former enemies. Human representatives spoke clearly. They offered a new doctrine: victory without annihilation, security through cooperation, power through shared prosperity. Many alien diplomats were skeptical, but the evidence was undeniable. Where humans partnered with other civilizations, war decreased, economic growth increased, stability improved. One by one, Civilizations began signing the accord. Trade alliances formed. Joint security fleets were created. Shared research stations opened. The galactic balance of power slowly shifted. Empires that relied on fear began losing influence. Their neighbors noticed something important. Life inside human alliances was better, safer, more prosperous. Another historian displayed population movement charts, migration patterns across star systems, billions of individuals relocating, moving closer to regions connected with human trade networks. Opportunity attracted them. Safety kept them there. Professor Kaylor activated the final projection, a strategic forecast. If the interstellar accord continued expanding, within 2 centuries, most of the galaxy would operate under the same cooperative structure, not ruled by humans, but influenced by them. Their philosophy spreading quietly, their alliances multiplying. One historian expressed concern. If this continues, human ideas will dominate galactic civilization. Kaylor answered calmly, "That is already happening, but not through force, through choice. Civilizations adopt systems that benefit them. Human cooperation benefits everyone involved." Another historian analyzed the long-term military outcome. A civilization built on alliances has access to the resources of many worlds, technology shared across dozens of species, defense fleets built from combined industries. Such a civilization becomes extremely difficult to challenge. The projection displayed a warning issued by the Galactic High Council. To fight humans is to risk being loved by them. The chamber remained silent because the meaning was clear. When humans defeat an enemy, they rarely destroy them. Instead, they rebuild them, they integrate them, they transform them, and eventually that former enemy becomes another ally, another defender, another partner in the same growing network. One historian displayed a chilling calculation. Every war humans win adds strength to their alliances. Every conflict expands their influence. Every enemy defeated becomes another shield. No empire in history had grown stronger through war in this way. Human victory multiplied their allies. Professor Kaylor slowly closed the archive. Across the galaxy, many civilizations once believed kindness was weakness, but humanity proved something extraordinary. Kindness could be power. Mercy could be strategy. Forgiveness could reshape entire civilizations. The historians looked at the final map. Human alliances now spread across vast regions of space. Trade corridors glowing across star systems, defense fleets protecting shared borders, cultures exchanging knowledge and art, a quiet transformation of galactic society. Kaylor spoke one last time. For thousands of years, civilizations fought for dominance. Now, one species has introduced a different path, a path where victory does not require destruction, where enemies become partners, where power grows through cooperation. Some civilizations fear this change because it challenges everything they believed about survival, but the results are impossible to ignore. Human grace has become the most successful strategic doctrine in modern galactic history. The projection faded. The archive hall slowly dimmed. Historians recorded their final conclusion. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy through war. They conquered it by ending wars. And the most terrifying realization of all was still spreading through the academic networks of the galaxy. If a civilization ever chooses to fight humanity again, they may win a battle, they may even win a war, but eventually humans will forgive them. They will rebuild them, they will help them grow stronger, until, one day, that former enemy realizes something impossible. They are no longer fighting humanity, they are defending it, and in that moment, the war will truly be over, because the most permanent defeat in the universe is not destruction. It is becoming human ally.